And Ben told the boys, like, no matter what happens, I want you guys to show the world what Fiji rugby is all about.
He's so dangerous. Freddy Krueger has nightmares about him.
Hello and welcome to the Rugby Hive. I'm Dallen Stanford, and despite my South African accent, I was fortunate enough to play rugby for the United States on the Sevens World Series.
And I'm MacDowell, a former Canadian Sevens international. Back in my playing days, I went head-to-head against Dallen in the USA.
For several years, Robin has coached international sevens for various countries, including Canada and Mexico. He's massively passionate about growing the game across the Americas through his MacDowell rugby programs at all levels. I'm currently a commentator for World Rugby, most recently broadcasting the Rugby World Cup in Japan, as well as the amazing Sevens World Series.
More than a decade later, we are teaming up to bring you insights from legendary players and coaches from around the world.
All legends have a story. The Rugby Hive podcast is here to share it.
Welcome to the Hive.
Oh, he's more dangerous than climate change.
Welcome to episode 5. It's Fijian legend Osea Kolinisau that joins us this week. And as we're going to start off all our new episodes, let's first catch up on how we know the guest. Robin, what have your interactions been with the great man known as Oscar?
Obviously, know Oscar, Osea Kolinisau from the rugby trail for a number of years, and then most recently had an opportunity to catch up with him when I was Woodlands Rugby Club in Houston, Texas, brought me down after a good week in Dallas, Texas, with the Guerrilla Rugby Academy, and had a few days off before we kicked off the weekend camp. And Osea and I grabbed a coffee at a nice little coffee shop in southern Houston, and we spent a couple hours together. And I just wanted to, full circle, share with him how inspirational the Fiji road to the Olympic Games and the gold medal, how that impacted Rugby Mexico's road to qualifying to the World Cup and going to the World Cup. And I guess a shout out to Ben Ryan as well. I read or listened to the audio book on my travels, and that was really my only medicine as a traveling coach, and just being solution oriented. But yeah, I just wanted to thank him and just kind of share how much he impacted essentially a nation, a foreign nation like Mexico. And then it was just so humbling to hear from him that he was so proud of our Mexican women. He was just following them when they qualified for the World Cup. And he said to his wife, and he told me that although he was an Olympic gold medal champion, which is the highest you could ever win in sevens or in rugby, that his goal was ultimately to go to a Rugby Sevens World Cup. So it was really interesting for him to share that with me and just dive into our story. So he's overcome so many different challenges in his life, and he's just such a humble guy. So I said to you, Dal, like, we got to get him on, and we got to get his story out there to share with the world. So it was wonderful. How about you? When did you first connect with Oscar?
I tried to tackle him on the Sevens World Series, unsuccessfully so, for a few years. But then Rob and I got a chance to at least commentate when he played on the series 2015, 2016 before the Olympic Games. And I'll never forget Fiji dramatically won the USA Sevens in Las Vegas in 2016, just before the Olympic Games. And I got a chance to do the post-tournament interview for World Rugby Field Side. And he was so humble and sending a message out to all his fellow family and all the folks in Fiji, because they're just ravaged with a hurricane on that side. Just such a nice gentleman, of course, representing our sport. And then more recently got a chance to commentate him on the Major League Rugby event here in the US for the Houston SaberCats. Catch up with him here and there. And those old legs of his, they can still go, my friend. Even at the Rugby Town Sevens, he's carving it up, So what a great man. But switching gears, let's catch up on our current day life right now. What have you been up to the last week or weekend, my friend?
Yeah, well, it was meant to be my wedding this week here. So we have family in town, we have friends in town. Yeah, thanks. So we'll get you out to the West Coast in a year from now. But so just been doing a bunch of fishing because I was meant to go fishing with my buddies, and obviously being back on the West Coast here. And one of my fishing buddies, one of my groomsmen, Andrew Goodman Seth, who's one of the best pirates on the Wild West Coast, took me out about 50 miles, and we were into salmon. I think we had 7 or 8 wild Pacific salmon on the boat before 8 a.m. And so it was great to kind of unplug a bit, and then that I had an opportunity to head out fishing with my cousin Mike MacDowell and his little boy Hugo, who's a rising MacDowell rugby star, 5 years old. So halfway through the day, our family are big Blackhawks fans. The owner and operator of Sturgeon Slayers, he dialed up Duncan Keith and who's his best friend, obviously Chicago Blackhawk legend. He's currently in a hotel in the NHL bubble in Edmonton, and called up my little nephew who's 5 and gave him a belated happy birthday and about a 2-3 minute shout out. So that was a pretty special day.
Oh, that's epic, my friend. As I said, I saw it online, going absolutely viral. Just an all-around brilliant story to share,
Yeah, how about you? What have you and Verity been up to the last few weeks here?
Yeah, so since we started the podcast, we haven't done this sort of regular update, which we will moving forward, but we moved from Los Angeles to Boston, or just south of Boston, a little town called Westport, where Verity grew up. We're really enjoying the outdoor life, and while we aren't fishing as much as you, we're just getting out of the beaches, and we went for a nice 20-mile bike ride the other day, which is good fun. And then for some reason, Verity needed to get a bit more content on social media, and so she started sculling my beers on Sunday when I was having a little braai outside, a little South African braai. I put my beer down, turned around to do something else, and there she was, downing it. She obviously can down faster than me. She's a real Zulu warrior, but up to no good as always,
Yeah, well, you're going to have to start hiding your beers on her or drinking faster.
Exactly. Jeepers. And then let's talk about this week, my man. What do you got going up in your neck of the woods?
Well, a little bit more holiday, and I got the in-laws in town from the Canadian prairies, and we're heading to the West Coast. So I'm going to get some surfing in. So trying to live that West Coast life while I can with no rugby here. How about you guys?
Oh, that's wonderful to see, man. Yeah, also not too much on the go. One event I'm working on is the re-airing of the 2019 Rugby Town Sevens. And so that's really cool. They're going to air all 3 days of the tournament. And then we're going to do some interviews between the block of 4 matches each. And it's really cool because I get a chance to feature yourself, coach who basically put the notepad down and ran into the field and scored a brilliant try. So we get to have a bit of fun with you, and a bunch of other legends, including Osea Kolinisau is on there. And then one of my all-time favorites, the Mullet Man, makes a massive appearance.
He's a special kid. I've been fortunate enough to work with him with the Canadian Pathway Sevens program. But for him to have a breakout tournament at 19 years old, to have, obviously he decided to grow a mullet and bleach it just in time for, that's just shooting fish in a barrel for Dallen Stanford. So I can't wait to relive Isherwood carving up these legends.
Oh, no, it's really a real highlight. I'm actually nervous to interview him, he's a big fish in my world. Let's finish off with a couple of thank yous. I just want to give a shout out to a friend of mine called Jeremy Castro. We played rugby together in Los Angeles at the Occidental All Boys. He owns his own apparel business. And then in recent times, he's switched across and turned his T-shirts into making masks and donated thousands to the local hospitals there in Oakland, California. Just a great man doing wonderful things. His company is called Brand Marinade, and he wants to give a shout out as well to a fellow hooker that has played rugby for many years in the US called Chris Babshis, who runs Rugby Athletic. So if you need any swag, go to him. And he specifically said, hookers on the field supporting hookers off the field. Actually, no, that's probably not his words. It's hookers supporting hookers. And then another thank you I want to give out is to Lee Tynan from Gilbert Rugby Canada. They've been absolutely brilliant for us, helping with our logo, helping spread the word of the Rugby Hive, and just doing brilliant work.
Yeah, and I just want to give a shout out to Kevin Estrada again from the Sturgeon Slayers on the Fraser River out of Hope, BC. If you ever get to the west coast of Canada and you want to do some river fishing, he's a ex big time hockey player and just the most class guy you ever meet. But we got to reel in a fish that was 7.5 feet long, Dallen, and my back is still wrecked. So, but yeah, what an experience, and just want to give him a shout out. So cheers, Kevin.
And make sure to catch us on all the socials at Rugby Hive on Twitter and Facebook, and at My Rugby Hive on Instagram. And we're on Anchor, and you can get our weekly podcast there. Without further ado, it's episode 5. Today's guest is the most capped Fijian Sevens player of all time, with 62 tournament appearances on the HSBC World Rugby Sevens Series. He's the all-time second highest scorer for Fiji with 1,272 points behind the King of Sevens, Waisale Serevi. His Sevens accolades are unrivaled, captaining Fiji to back-to-back World Series Sevens titles and an historic gold medal at the Olympic Games, the first ever medal for his small island nation. Here is Fijian legend Osea Kolinisau.
That's lekker.
That's lekker, as we say in Afrikaans. So we switch from Afrikaans, we switch to Fijian. It's Bola. Thank you very much for coming on the Rugby Hive today, my friend.
Thank you for having me, man.
So how are you holding up that side, and how are things going in Houston?
Yeah, things are pretty well considering what we're going through right now, and we've been staying Safe at home with my wife and son. It's hard when you have a little one, or wants to get outside and has a lot of energy and just running around the house. But everything's been good, and we've been sticking to the guidelines, and hopefully we're over with this COVID-19 soon, and we can get back and enjoy what we do most, and get back to rugby.
Yeah, we all hope so, don't we? So speaking about running around as a little one, can you share your childhood memories of where you grew up and how you were introduced to the sport of rugby?
Yeah, so I grew up in Suva, Fiji, and Fiji are crazy about rugby. And I actually started playing football in school, growing up to primary school. But then I switched when I got to high school, because high school I went to was my brother's high school. He convinced me to join his high school, and they only played rugby. So I switched to rugby there, and growing up, rugby is always around me. All my friends played at home and playing touch every afternoon. So I was just in a matter of time to really just focus all my attention into rugby and give it a try. And I was lucky enough to be out of 1,000 kids in Fiji, get to represent Fiji and get scouted by Serevi, and things just pick up from there.
That's a pretty epic recruiter, I bet, as a young man. When you were growing up and first started playing, what were some of your rugby dreams and ambitions as a young Fijian player?
As a young Fijian player, my dream was always to play in a Rugby World Cup Sevens. That was one of my dreams, because I remember sitting down in front of the TV at 97 when Fiji first won it, and I seeing Serevi play and seeing Mana Sambari. After they finish the World Cup and they play the Rugby Union song, and seeing Mana Sambari run down the touch and then they play that song, like I always imagine myself walking back from school, just okay, I'm on the sideline now. I step in one, and then I was always, I was like, hopefully I get to play in a World Cup, and that was always my dream, to play in a World Cup in sevens for Fiji.
Yeah, when we caught up earlier last summer when I was down in Houston, you'd mentioned blew me away that your goal was to go to a Rugby World Cup, and I guess back then obviously rugby wasn't in the Olympics, and for me, the ultimate would be to go to an Olympic Games and to win a gold medal, and that's something you did as a Fijian. But you're still your goal is to go to a World Cup.
Yeah, that was my goal, and I've always said that I never dreamt of being in the Olympic. Like never in my wildest dream. I was like, the closest that we ever get to the Olympic in Fiji was me and my mates just imagining that, oh, okay, you take in the streets, I'll be Usain Bolt, I'll be Green, and we're running and we do relays on the road, or we'll go and say, oh, let's do some javelin and see who gets it, or we do go to the water or the pool and like, I'll be Michael Phelps, you be top, and like just imagining those kind of things, like, oh, we're in the Olympic, and I've never imagined that I'd be in an Olympic, let alone winning a medal. And it was huge. My goal was always the Rugby World Cup, and to play in an Olympic, that supersedes that. But sometimes I still pinch myself to remind myself, like, oh, I won't go in the Olympic. Yeah, I did that. So it still gets to me when you think about what you've done, but it's still so unreal when you see sports person that we've gone to the Olympic, like, oh, they were Olympic, they participated in this Olympic, they are Olympic champions, and I was like, I'm an Olympic champion. Like, it's still unreal when you think about that, and so I think that supersedes being in the World Cup. But yeah, I really wanted to make my World Cup dream come true, but it was unfortunate that I missed out on 3 World Cups. 2 on injury and 1 on selection. So,
but still, you give us goosebumps talking about the Olympic Games, because you're right. As any athlete or fan watching, the Olympics is the ultimate, and so we'll get back to that in a second. Let's first talk about, as you said, you're a younger player. You get scouted by Waisale Serevi, the great master himself. But then, what is your journey or pathway like to then represent Fiji on the Sevens World Series?
So I started out like, I just finished high school, and I was starting out in uni, and we played, there's a super series that was played in the capital in Suva, and I played in that Super Series. I was so young, just a scoring little 19-year-old, fresh from high school, and the name came out, and my dad said, "Oh, you've made the capital side." So it's huge to make a capital side because the likes of Serevi, Marika Vunimbaka, Stefano Takao, and all these big names. So my dad said, your name came out on the squad, the capital side squad. And I'm like, oh, the development squad, yes. And my dad, no, your name is not in the development, it's in the main squad. I said, what? So on the first day of training, me and my dad pull up, and my dad gets to drop me. And I look to the ground, and I see Serevi there, Marika Vunimbaka. I see Stefano Takao. I see all these big names that played for Fiji. So I just told my dad, let's just get back in the car and go back home, and I won't have a chance, It's like I don't have a chance. I was so just looking at those guys, their names and everything. It's like, over there, I won't have a chance. I'll just play for development. So let's just go back home. And my dad was just sat there, he's like, just go and train. Just be you, train. You won't lose nothing. Just go and train. So I went and I started training, and that year I started starting for the capital side. And I played with Serevi. It's like I'm lucky to have played with him in 15s, and he's always telling me like, Oscar, you're young, make sure don't go into contact, step them, give the ball to the big guys. Those kind of. And I was like, okay. And after 1 year with the capital side, the next year he was coach for Fiji, and he just came up and he said, Oscar, I'm starting a rugby sevens team called the Suva Eagles. If you wanted to join, and he said, I think you'll be good at sevens. So I said, okay. So I joined the Eagle squad, and November came around, and he wasn't coach yet, and he was still playing. But then he took the South Sea Drifters to Dubai, and he said, Oscar, I want to take you to Dubai with me, but we'll pay for the South Sea Drifters. And we played along with that. Now, all of those guys that I played with were all sevens international for Fiji, and I was the only young one. And on my first trip, I just stuck with him. Wherever my dad was like, you listen to Serevi, whatever he says, you do. So wherever Serevi went, I went as this youngster, just following this guy's side. So we played, and we won the Invitational in Dubai, and we were in the final with Dan Norton's team from England. I still remember, I was like, because I saw this youngster on that side too, playing wing, and I'm this side playing wing. So that's when I first saw Norton. I was like, oh. So, and the following year in Dubai, he said, Oscar, I'm going to get you in the team, man, and see how you go from there. And I said, okay. So that's how I got started with sevens with Serevi and Fiji.
So let's quickly go back. Who won the battle between you and Norton back then?
I think we won, because we won the final. So
Good. We'll tell him you shredded him from what, 19 years old. So let's fast forward. Tell us about where did you make your actual debut on the Sevens World Series, and tell us about that weekend. What was going through your mind, and what do you remember about that initial debut?
So I debuted in Dubai 2008. So my debut was against USA, and it was just I was nervous but really excited. I wanted to see how it would feel, and I was so excited when they named me on the squad. They said, Oscar, you're on the 12 that's going to represent this week. And Serevi said, you're going to be coming from the bench. And we had the likes of Moneva, and Moneva was the starting wing. So leading up to that week, I was just so nervous but excited. And I was like trying to tell myself that if I get my chance, I really need to take this opportunity. And I was sitting on the bench just waiting. And then Serevi said, Oscar, you're in halftime. After halftime, like 1 minute into halftime, Oscar, you're in. And I was lucky enough, like first ball I got, I scored from my first ball, and I scored 2 tries on my debut. And that was huge for me. And, I couldn't wait to go back home and call my dad and say, I'm so happy. Like now I'm settled that I've scored and I can get started.
That's amazing memories, because I do remember trying to tackle you both those times you got through, and it was tough stopping you. I'll tell you what, my friend. So in a way, you got me to thank for your 2 tries.
Now, I think I got to thank the big guys, because I played with some of the guys in that 17. I was small, but I was lucky enough that they just passed the ball and I was in the right place. So I was lucky to play with some of the talented guys that were there, and really lucky to have Serevi as a coach and mentor.
And just fast forwarding a bit, can you share some of your stories about working with Ben Ryan, his transition to Fiji, and how you both connected, which eventually led to you becoming the captain?
Yeah, so my first selection of Ben Ryan, because I always pass him in the series when he coached for England. I always say morning, then walk past him. Then I walk past him, I say morning, and sometimes he'd say morning, sometimes he wouldn't say. I was like, this guy doesn't like to talk to me, and my point was like, this guy doesn't like. Maybe this guy's arrogant. To me, that how it was, because sometimes he will just be in his world. But when I got to know him, it's like when he's focused on something, like he's always thinking. His brain is always working. Like I was like, oh, so that's why he was like, he'll be sitting and you think that he's just drinking coffee, but his brain is just thinking, like going through what to do next. How can I go around this one? How can we go around this one? How can we tackle this play? Like getting to know him, and somebody's like, why is he successful as a coach? And I was like, he's just very smart. Like I was like, he's just a really smart guy and a really smart coach on how he goes about things. And so I get this call from the board. They said, how would you feel like, I went with the board members in Fiji Rugby then, and one of them asked, how would you feel like in having an overseas coach? I think, so I told them, I think that would really, really help us. I think in a way, like we go out, we try something new, because it's always been local guys given the job. So I was like, it wouldn't harm us trying out something new, getting a fresh new face and how they go about things. So they say, okay. Then after maybe a month or two, you get this announcement that Ben Ryan is coach. I was like, oh, this is huge. So I had a falling out with the coach in Dallen. I don't know, but when Ben came in, he said, oh, is Kolinisau still playing? And he said, yeah, he's still playing. And he said, okay, I want him in the team before he comes to Fiji. That's before the Gold Coast. And for some reason, Ben said, for some reason, your name wasn't in the team. So, because the coach in there selected the players. And he came in and we had a tournament in Fiji, a Fiji water tournament. And I managed to play. I played for the Fiji Barbarians then. So I ended up playing. And they already had selected the team for Gold Coast. And Ben just came in and to overlook that tournament, and he was going to take the team to Gold Coast. So in the tournament, one of the boys got injured, but it's already in the squad. And I must have played good in that tournament. And after the tournament, then Ben walked up and said, hey, say, Mbula, I'm Ben. I said, oh, Mbula. And he said, how would you feel like going to Gold Coast? And I was like, I wouldn't mind at all. And he said, okay, you're in. So that's how we first started, and we first got to know each other. And our relationship just started out from there, and really getting to know him and his philosophy of coaching, and where he likes to be redundant. He teaches something, but he said, I like it when I come and I don't have to do coaching and I see players doing these things instead of coaching. He said, I just sit back and I just watch. And he said, that's when I know that my job is completed. I don't have to do this. And then I see you players just taking it on your own and you're coaching yourself. So, yeah, I pretty lucky to meet someone like him and to learn under him and to learn to play and to pick his brains and to see how he goes about things. And, I really liked our time when we go as a coach and captain and we play golf and we'll discuss things and to see how this guy's brain just ticks and the way he thinks about himself. And the scary thing about it, on our road to Olympic, we were just scratching the top. And I'm like, what if we had this guy for another 4 years? And, whoever gets him and wherever he is, they will be really lucky. And I hope that one day I can coach against him and, being exposed to that type of level of coaching. And that's my dream now, that one day I can do that to the players that come in when I coach, and, the mark that he has set. And that's a dream. And I said, I hope I get to coach against him one day if he's still coaching.
So you were part of an unbelievable era for Fijian rugby, going back-to-back series titles in 2015 and 2016. Can you tell us a bit about what made those 2 years so successful for your country?
Ben, I said, like, people say that, because Fiji had the talent already. Some people, they don't credit him with what he did with the team. They said, anybody can do that. Anybody can go coach. I was like, I'm like, no, you guys didn't know what was happening inside. Like, the planning is something else. You can have the talent, but the planning, the coaching. Like, one thing about Ben, if he plans something, like it's 6 months, he's already planned it. It will go according to what he planned. Like guidance, he said, like, according. He'd make sure that it went. Like, that was something scary about him. His mind is like, okay, what if this goes wrong? Like, he's got that covered. 6 months. We want this. We want that. So people back home, I always find it that when people say, oh, anybody can coach Fiji and win, like, he was lucky to have the boys with him. And I was like, no, like, we were lucky to have Ben. And, on our 2 years, one thing was like, Fiji was known for inconsistency, high tackles. Like, when he came in, like, we had the least number of yellow cards. We were one of the consistent team. Although we might lose a tournament, but we topped the rate in turnover and kickoff, in line out, receive, and like, and his mind always like, hey, when we be down, like, oh, we lost in the semifinal. He's like, hey, Oscar, why are you down? Like, we still top these things. We top the turnover. We top the try scoring. We top, like, we're still good. It's just bad decision and those kind of little things, like, and you do appreciate you get it from him, and people don't see that. But I was lucky enough to be in, and when people say, "Oh, no, Fiji had the talent and had," I was like, "No, if it wasn't for Ben, like, the planning and his mind, it was something that just added to the flair we had." And one thing about him, like, he didn't want to take out the Fijians in us. He wanted, like, I want it to be brought out so the world can see. Instead of changing us, people think, oh, he would change. Like, no. Because other Fijian coaches, like, why couldn't other Fijian coaches do this? We had to have a white man come in, and he just brought out the real Fijian in us. I was like, what's wrong there? And with him, it was just transparency, doing things with honesty and kindness, and make sure you're a man of your word. And that was it.
Yeah, absolutely love that. I mean, such a kind and wonderful coach as well. So when fans think about rugby sevens, they think about Fiji straight away. And you spoke about that. 4 titles in the World Series out of 20 seasons. Fiji have won only 4. You were part of 2 of those. Can you talk about how competitive the series is and how difficult it is to win a series title?
Man, like, every year the series gets tougher. People don't remember, like, now you see, like, when I compare it back then, I was like, now faster, stronger, even the forwards, faster and stronger. And you got to be a total rugby player to play sevens. You got to be able to run fast. You got to be able to step. You got to be able to tackle. You got to be able to kick. And it's changing all of the time. And you have players that are coming in 6 foot, 7 foot that are really fast and really skillful and offload. And it gets really tough. Like, you don't know who might win in the day in sevens. That's what I like about it. Like, South Africa can be number 1 contender, but they just get knocked out. Like, every game now, when you watch sevens, every game is a final for every team. You can't just, like before, oh, we're just gonna walk through, keep this place. You have to play your A players every game. So you must make sure that you have 12 A players, so you can squad them. You can change them around. And that was one thing we did. Like, we were lucky enough to have 12 players that could all start, and that made a difference. And Ben made sure that we had that we had 12 players that could all could start and competing. And every team is getting to that point where they have 12 players that all can start a 7, and the coach just needs to pick his 7, and whoever comes in lifts the game up. And when living it now, but seeing the competitiveness of the game and seeing how fast it's growing, like, I kind of miss it. And I was like, I don't know, maybe it'll be tough to go back, because it's just fast. Now it's getting faster. Players are getting faster and stronger. Just advice to people who want to get into sevens, like, you gotta be really fit to get into sevens. Like, these players are insane, and the work they go through in a day, in a week, it's just it's just insane. And I talk about it with the boys in Houston. They said, "Oh, Oscar, what do you guys do for fitness?" Like, I'm like, if I tell you, like, you'd want to die. Like, the fitness we do every day. And seven players are one of the toughest players. And they gotta be strong mentally, and their training is just on another level.
Can you take us back to Cyclone Winston and how that affected your family, your country, and ultimately your team?
Yeah, I was lucky enough. My family weren't affected. The area we stayed at the capital, Tenerife, but most of the boys are from the western side, and some of the boys, one of the boys, Alfred Vitokani, is playing for London Irish now. That he had to walk 3 kilometers to come into camp, to find a car to bring him into camp, bring a bus. He said I had to walk with his bag and come into camp. And Pio's house was destroyed, half of the kitchen taken out, and some of the other boys there, they said their roof was shaking. And so we march into camp, and we're there with Ben, and he looks at us, and normally we come into camp on a Monday and we'd have fitness test, yo-yo test on 4:00 every Monday. So we came into camp and Ben just had a look at us and he said, "There's no training today. You guys go rest, sleep." And he said, when I see you guys, I could see in their face worried, and and he said, "We won't train today. Just go sleep properly. I know you guys didn't have good rest, good sleep." So on a Monday, we'll give him time off, sleep properly, enjoy, have a proper meal at the hotel. Then on a Tuesday, we started, and he just reminded us like, "Hey, we are the first one off the shelves to bring smiles back into these people's faces in Fiji. You guys know how they love rugby." And he said, one thing can cheer them up is if we do this for them. We win this and it'll bring smile to their faces. And now we went to Vegas and we won against Australia. And I don't know, the win was really strong in that Vegas tournament. And we were down, and luckily we came back and won the Vegas tournament. And to see, people with damaged houses still watching TV and cheering, like it gets you so emotional. Like these guys, they love rugby so much that they don't care like what's happening right now. They just want to watch their team. And some of them sitting in front of TV and just watching with no roof, or they taking the TV up to a hill to try and watch it. And to get smiles on their faces, it speaks volume of what are we playing for and who are we playing for as a team. And we were thankful that we got the win. And we got it especially for the people of Fiji that were suffering at that time.
Yeah, Oscar, I remember being on the field after you won. I interviewed you straight after that victory, and I could see the emotion pouring out of you. And you gave a message to your family and friends and everybody watching there. And going back to that time, as you said, everybody in Fiji is tuning in to watch. I mean, you must have felt at least really proud you could play your part.
Yes, well, I was really, even the boys, we were proud. We went back and we looked at each other and changed them, and we were happy, and we said we did something good. We brought smiles to people's faces in midst of helplessness, and the people that don't have much, houses destroyed. Like we were able to give them something to smile about, something positive where they know like, oh, we can still do this, we can overcome this. Like the boys are out there, family suffering, and they play and they win, and gives them hope that okay, we can do it. If the boys can do it, we can do it. So it's something big, and I'm so proud of the moment that we were able to do it as a team for our country.
We talked about it a bit last year, and I know in Ben's book, but in that week leading up, didn't you guys arrive a few days late, and some of the boys were sick from the water, and so you guys sounded like you had a lot of things to overcome in the lead up to that cup final, and then maybe walk us through a bit of how that cup final went and the comeback that you guys had to battle back from.
Yeah, so everything was not going right in there. Like I think we lost to someone in the pool game, and we talked about it like, poof, we cannot have this happening. Like, remember the people back home, and I just told the boys, this should be the last time we lose this weekend. This is the last time. It's like starting tomorrow, we cannot lose. Like we have something to play for, and it's bigger than us now. And when we arrived when we lost to Samoa, we arrived late at the stadium. We didn't like traffic, and we didn't even warm up. We got off the car, turned the change machine, and Ben was so furious about that. It's like, what's wrong? He was waiting at the warm up, and we didn't show up at the warm up. It's like we just got caught. There was an accident on traffic, and Ben said, "Okay, you can't control it." And we always said that when a plane crashes it doesn't just straight away fall off the sky. It always something that was maybe the right engine will died and the left engine then. So we always talk about that when something happens, you look back. So what went wrong on April? And we talked about because we didn't encounter the accident, we were late to this, and that led to our plane crashing against someone. So we talked about it. We gotta get back online, and we have something bigger to play for. And we were lucky enough to get into the final and play Australia. And I just remember the wind being strong because I'm doing kickoff and we kick the ball 10 meters and it goes back towards our 10 meters. And I'm like, how do we control this? And Australia were off to a good start. And we talked about it in halftime. And it was like, hey, we need something positive, and we just need to keep ball. Like the wind is strong. Make sure that the wind is strong, and make sure that we're close to each other. But don't let it stop us from playing our game. Because I remember we scored a try of Savi from on our own try line. We stopped Australia and we throw it deep in our try line towards Savi, and Savi take it all the way. And we said that whatever happens, we'll hold true to what we've always said, that we'll always throw the ball around and just make sure that we keep ball and let's keep playing. And then we got another turnover and we throw it to Talinga. Talinga was in space. Jerry stepped 1-2 and gave to Talinga. Talinga scored again. And I think that just, helped us, popped us in front of Australia. And we held on to win. And that was a very good Australian side. I think Quade Cooper was playing. Yeah, Quade was playing. And it was nice to play against Quade Cooper. And it was he's a really good guy. After the game, shook hands. And we always talk to him. He always comes around and say, hey, boys, when we're sitting at the cafeteria in the hotel, and how you guys, and talking. So it was nice to get that, and nice to play against someone that's known in 15s, and to know that he's a really nice person.
And let's talk about the Olympic Games and what the build up was like. We've seen footage of your team running up the sand dunes and with limited resources and just a solution orientated approach you guys had.
Robin and Dallen, I'm telling I don't care how fit you are, that sand dunes will kill you. I don't care how fit you are, how fit you think you are. You go up the sand dunes, I'd rather do squats in the gym all day than go to the sand dunes. So we had an 8-week plan, and every Friday we go up the sand dunes. Every Friday we go up, Friday morning 4 a.m. everybody get in the bus, we're going. We on our way to the sand dunes, it'll always be noisy in the bus. Everybody's laughing, joking. But on the way back, after we shower, lunch, and we come back, and we drop the boys along their villages along the way, everybody's just asleep in the bus. And as soon as he goes, yeah, we'll see you. The bus is so quiet. That's how demanding the sand dune is. I've always said that, I'd like to come up to the sand dunes and not run, because it's so peaceful when you just sit there and you watch the sea and watch the surrounding and the sand. And I said, it's so peaceful. But I said, one day I'll come here just to sit down and watch. I don't want to run. Because every time I've come up here, I'm always running. And I think that gave us an edge, because the sand dune was tough. And I remember having a video, it was interviewing Jared after. It's hey, Jared, what do you think of the sand dunes? And Jared said, I don't want to come here ever again. And you know what? That I think that if you can go through the sand dunes, and it helps develop mental toughness in you, and it helps really get your legs to another level, your calf, your thighs, your hamstring, you just feel it burn. And going up the sand, at one stage we feel we don't want to run, we just roll down, we don't care about the sand. It's no energy to run down, just roll down and then crawl up again, roll down, crawl up again, let's go. And at the end of that sand dunes, we always sing after everything, and we always sing we have overcame, because I know that's one of the toughest training that we ever go through. I would rather do 400s on the ground than do sand dunes. And we're lucky to have that in Fiji, and Ben put it into good use, and that was something that really gave us an edge at the Olympics.
You talked about the gold medal at the start of this conversation. Well, you guys earned it, and you guys had already won it before you even showed up in Rio. albeit you had a few tough teams to face. And one of the teams you topped in your pool was a close quarterfinal, a close game in the quarterfinals against New Zealand, where you beat them by 5 points. Can you tell us about facing your old rivals, the All Blacks, and what it's like to play against the Kiwis?
So to play against the Kiwis is always tough. New Zealand are always tough opponents, but Fiji and New Zealand have this long history in sevens, and everyone knows about it, like rivalry in sevens. And to a Fijian boy, when he plays New Zealand, you don't have to inspire him. You just see he just switches on automatically. Because when you grow up watching sevens, like, all you can see is like, oh, All Blacks and Fiji playing in the final. Like, you watch all like, in your mind, like, oh, they are the enemy. And you grow up always playing each other. So when you see Fijian boys, when they see a black jersey, they don't need to get inspired. They just switch on automatically. I don't know what it is about. I think it's the rivalry and the culture. And, on other teams we'll play, sometimes we'd be off the mark with our mental focus. And, Ben would get to us like, I don't care who we play. If it gets you switched on, if you see them as a black jersey. If that's what gets you switched on. See them as a black jersey, as an All Black, and you play. Because he said, because every time I see you against New Zealand, I know I don't have to say a thing. Because I know you're already switched on, and you boys just lived against New Zealand. And, back home, people say, like, as long as Fiji defeat New Zealand, if we lose in the final, and they say, like, as long as they defeat New Zealand on the way, it's good we defeated New Zealand. It's something like, because that's how big the rivalry Fiji and New Zealand have. And I always look forward to the games against New Zealand. It's tough because they test you, and they have set the standard for a long time in the series. And Dallen would know that, they've won the series more than anybody else. And and you would know, they've set the standard for a long time in the series. And so we've always looked forward to playing New Zealand. And just the rivalry, when you win against New Zealand, it gives you a sense, our Sweden boys, like, like, oh, we defeated New Zealand. And it gives you that sense of, like, accomplishment that you were able to defeat New Zealand, like, they are a tough team, and, they've set the standard not only in sevens, but in 15s. And they used to have a very good team, and they still have a very good team. And the talents they have is amazing. And playing them in Rio, we played, who did we play? We said, like, we played USA. And if we defeated USA, New Zealand would come in. Then if USA won, then New Zealand would go out. So when we defeated USA, New Zealand came back into the quarterfinal in the Olympics. So we gave them, and we were like, we have to win against New Zealand. It was so close. Like, so close against New Zealand, like, tough. And I remember they were defending really well. We threw the ball around so many times. Like, when I rewatched the ball, like, I watched the offload we made. Like, how many offloads we made then we made a break, but their defense was just so good in that game. And I think they really wanted it to. And, everybody knows what they're playing for. And we know, like, if we get knocked out in the quarterfinal, and if we get knocked out by New Zealand, like, our dream is gone. And it's like our 4-year journey is gone. If we lose this, we won't have. Ben came in and just before we went in against New Zealand said that, if you lose this, we don't have any medal contention. We're out against New Zealand. You don't have a medal contention against New Zealand. So we need to win this. So there's no ifs and buts. We need to win against New Zealand. So we were lucky enough to come back. We came back against New Zealand, and we were lucky enough to hold on. And now when I think about it, I remember playing New Zealand, like, at that time we were 12-7, and there was a penalty outside the 22 on the far left corner. And I looked up, and in my mind, it's like, I just gotta go for goal. Like, go for goal, I get 15. And I thought, I was like, if we miss, then they still have time. There's still a lot of time to play. And I was like, let's step it, let's play. Let's keep the ball in hand. Like, now when I look back at it, I was like, what if we hadn't turned over the ball from New Zealand? The right decision would have to be to go for goal. And now that's how tough it was. And they had some amazing, like, they had Akira Ioane brothers. They had Pulu and Kaka. Mikkelsen, and they had a really tough team. And I'm saying, like, we were just really blessed to come up with the opportunities and to finish off those good teams.
Well, Oscar, what I will say is in 15s rugby, for me, as a being growing up in South Africa, the ultimate battle is against New Zealand. South Africa, New Zealand 15s, but in sevens, it's always been New Zealand, Fiji. And you talk about statistics. I remember looking when you guys played each other 100 times on the series. Fiji had 150 and New Zealand had 150. So that head-to-head battle is just unbelievable and epic that you were able to pip them in the Olympics.
Yeah, that's huge. And I remember growing up, like, I hated the watching sevens. Like, I hated the, like, not hated, but I despised them, All Blacks, like, because they always play Fiji, like they defeat Fiji, and I was like, come on, man! I'd always want another team to win. So in 50s growing up, so that led me to, like, oh, I'll cheer for South Africa. I've always been in 50s, like, I'll cheer for South Africa, and my brother knows that I've always cheered in Tri-Nations growing up. My brother was an All Black fan. I've always cheered for South Africa because that rivalry from sevens, watching it growing up, and New Zealand, like, I just despised, like, I want the team to defeat New Zealand, and it went to 50s, like, I chose another team, so New Zealand shouldn't win. It's really nice for Fiji to catch up because I think we were left behind when New Zealand was dominating the series. I think there was a huge gap there, that New Zealand was jumping in front between head-to-heads. So I always look at that stats. I was like, man, I hope we can close these stats, because New Zealand are way far ahead of us, and I hope we close it. And in a way, mentally, it gets you like, oh, we're head-to-head. They're 50, we're 50. Oh, okay, we can match each other now.
No, you're absolutely spot on. So let's go back to that next game then, right? So you guys advanced. You played Japan in the semifinals, a loaded Japanese team, and you beat them 20 points to 5. And then the final, Great Britain in the first ever Rugby Sevens Olympic gold medal. Tell us and talk through that moment, your mindset. You're about to run onto the field, knowing that this could potentially be the first gold medal for your Pacific Island nation.
Yeah, so the scariest game I've ever played was against Japan in the semifinals. So, because I know you guys know too that when Fiji plays, a team that is not really a threat, like, we tend to lose focus. Our mental's like, oh, it's just Japan, or it's just this team. Like, the boys tend to, lose focus. So after we beat New Zealand, we went to the hotel, and straight as we get to the hotel, I've been just on the boys. I was like, we're playing Japan. I'm like, don't underestimate them. They are in the semi-final for a reason. So I was on all night in the morning. I just was on. I was like, stay humble, stay grounded. We play our game. Don't let it get in your head that this is just Japan. Don't be too careful. And I was on the boys' case, and I said, Japan defeated New Zealand, so they are in the semi-final for a reason. So that was one thing that got me really scared. Was I hope the boys didn't switch off mentally, like, oh, we're playing Japan. This will be an easy game, and we're into the final, looking forward to the final. So when we defeated Japan, it was a huge relief. Because when we played, Ben was like, okay, if we lose against Japan, we still have to play for a medal. But if we win, we are guaranteed a medal. We are guaranteed a medal if we win, boys. If we win, we are guaranteed a medal. So we won against Japan. We came in and was like, so we're guaranteed we're going to play for them. And Ben tries to tell the boys, like, no matter what happens, we are guaranteed a medal. You're going to have a medal in the Olympics. And we were just sitting there, just taking the boys listening to music, and the time coming up, just so relaxed, like, oh, we're in the fun. The boys are just so relaxed. But Ben said, you can see this ruthlessness in their eyes. Like, they're so relaxed and laughing, but said, when I look at their eyes, said, you can see a sparkle in their eyes. And he just said, I just know straight away that, we're in for something special. We're always on the A. There's 2 warm-up pitches in Brazil. One is A and one is B. So we're always on A. No, we're always on B. So when we come up for, I don't know what happened, but maybe they were playing mind games. Great Britain's supposed to be on A, but they were on B. And Ben looked up and said, hey, we're supposed to be, but they already on our side. And Ben said, oh, let it go, don't worry. So we ran out, and I see Great Britain warming up, and they are just so focused. And we ran up like children being released for recess, or when you're told, like, oh, summer's here. everybody, no more school. And you just ran out. And we ran out laughing, knock out, just full of laughter and everything. And we were ready to go out. And, I remember just standing in the tunnel, waiting to go out. And I looked around the boys. And, you see those all smiling. And so I was like, okay, before we always go in and we're in the tunnel, I always ask the boys, oh, there's a question. Hey, can I ask one question? Can I ask one question? If you can ask one question. And the boys would look around. Yeah. And I would say, is it on, boys? Is it on? In English. And they'll go, it's on. So when the boys said it's on, there was a loud on, and I just knew that, okay, it's on. And we're about to run out, then Domalele looks out and said, hey, one more thing. And we looked at him and said, keep smiling, keep smiling. And, like that thing just gets to you. And there's a feeling I know the boys said that there's a feeling that we felt on the tunnel before we ran, like you just feel like there's this joy inside you where you can't keep it in and you just want to smile like. And we ran out and they play our national anthem. And for a Fijian boy to play in a final and you play his national anthem, it's huge. And people ask and commentate that the boys get so emotional. I said, yes, because we remember of where we come from and our tiny little island, not just a little speck on the map, and we are here at the world stage, applied to play for something big. And you think about your family, and you think about all the people that's been through your journey, and it just gets you emotional. Like, and you think about the people that you're representing. Okay, this is it now. And I said, okay, we just got in the huddle. I said, oh, this is it. And Ben told the boys, like, no matter what happens, I want you guys to show the world what Fiji rugby is all about. And I was like, okay. So we were lucky enough to get the ball going and just, I don't know how you could have rewritten the script or write the script or something, but the ball just went our way and we were just on another level.
And how did it feel scoring the first try of the game of the gold medal match?
Amazing to really think about it. Like, I didn't, you can never plan this moment, but when the ball came out and I'm running and I saw the Mitchell coming in tackling, my mind was like, I have to try, because I knew Jerry was calling. It's like, if I go down, I'll pop the ball up to Jerry. But as I looked forward, I saw the try and I was like, I'm going to make this. I can make it. So I just tried to push forward, like momentum will carry me. So I just made sure that I held the ball with 2 hands and put it down. And it's an amazing feeling. Like, I just scored in the final of, the Olympic. And it's the first try of the Olympic. And it's just huge. And it was so huge that I just told Vatemo, you kick, because before the final, Ben was like, Oscar, you kick for conversions. And Vatemo was, no, you're supposed to kick. So I think I was like, no, I was so happy from scoring. I said, you kick. You kick the conversion. I started walking back. And that's when you watch Ben on the second one. He's like, Oscar, you kick the ball for the conversion. Yeah, so it was something special.
Oh, it's amazing to relive it and just talk about just the rest of the game. So you said you guys had a lot of flow. You ended up winning by 40 points in the Olympic final. What was that like to have the wind at your backs, essentially the Fijian wind at your backs the entire final?
Yeah, I think you can never, like I told Dallen, like you can never write that, and you pray for those perfect games. You pray for, like, you imagine those perfect games, like, what if we got all the possession and what if we just scored, come back, kick off, scored, come back, kick off, scored, come back. And Ben was always saying that, when we're on point, teams will be catching shadows. And when we're on point. And in that final, like, we were on point, like mentally, physically, spiritually, everybody was on the same page, and the level of focus everybody was with. But we did it with that, and that we did it with a smile on our face. It's like we so like we get to represent Fiji rugby and show the whole world what rugby is about and what Fiji rugby is all about. So, but to have that momentum and to have that wind behind the back, like you're saying, is something that coaches pray for. That you always get the bounce of the rugby ball and you get that momentum, and you're up. In the final, you always wanted to be up 2, 3, 4 scores, but to be up by 30 points at halftime, and it's just something you dream about.
Well, you guys were ready, and I love Ben's approach, and obviously the team's feeling around in the build up to the cup final is the work has been done. And I know when I coach teams now, especially at bigger events, but even with kids, it's just trying to get take away the pressure. We don't need to put more pressure on. If the job's been done, if the work's been done, you've already ran up those sand dunes for 2 years. You don't need to add pressure on the players, and go enjoy yourself. And I don't think people mind being beaten by Fiji, and everybody loves to watch Fiji for that reason. You guys just always express yourself when you have the ball in your hand.
I think that's important in a team, just to let especially in sevens when game week comes around, is coaches should have a feel of their players, and I know that both you and Dallen would know that when you see that, you know straight away, oh, this is gonna be a good game. When you know your players are relaxed, are well taken care of, and you know that they're on point, and you just know, oh, this is gonna be a good game. You know that this is a good game. My players are ready.
Yeah, and he knew you guys were ready, so he just let you run out there like kids and get it done. And you guys did get it done, and brought home the first ever medals in Olympic Games for Fiji, and obviously the first one was a gold medal. And you returning back to Fiji, what was that like? They had obviously parades. It must have been absolute mayhem on the islands when you guys arrived.
It was crazy, and like we didn't know what, because our phones they've taken our phones in, and after the final, and when they gave us our medal, and we came back to the hotel, Ben said to the condominiums of the Olympics village, and Ben said, "Oh, you guys should see what's happening in Fiji. Take your phones in." We just went to his room, like we got our phones, and we just sat and just saw. We were watching people during the game, and it was live. And when the final finished, like the streets, cars just stop, and people are running in the middle of the streets. And now we're seeing videos of people in the market selling flowers. They leave their flowers and they are running with their flowers, in the streets, and people just leave work and just honking their cars and riding around. And, it's something special. And to get home, they blocked off the airport. You couldn't go through the normal entrance because they said you had to go through the back road of the airport, and the police were there. And we got in the bus and we went straight away because people were at the stadium in Nandi. Like there was just a whole lot of people, and these two women coming back from church, I think they saw the bus coming, and they just immediately ran in front of the bus and they started doing press up, and we were laughing. I'm like, oh, look at that! This is what it means to them. Like these two old women come and throw their bag down, and they just, they're so happy, and they just start doing press up, and we're in the bus just laughing, and they just start waving and blowing kisses to the team. And I was like, man, this is what it means to the people of Fiji, and to get into the stadium and people are just trying to touch your hand and just touch something, say hi, or just touch you and say thank you, for winning it for us. And it was just crazy. And I know that some people have those videos, and I was like, they should edit those videos and show people how crazy people when Fiji won their first Olympic medal. And going in the bus towards our celebration at the capital, it was funny because people, like children, were running with the bus for 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, just with their hand, with a flag. And the police escort were in front with the truck, and these kids would run and jump in the police escort truck. And we were at the bus just laughing at them. I was like, you can't control. These guys are happy, and it's just something that they know that they will remember with them. And I don't know, words can explain it. That I wish that I had recorded all these things when I got off. Just have a GoPro on my head and just so people can see what it really means. When I look back at it, it's like I wish I had a GoPro or something and just have it on my head and just let the world see what I am seeing, the rugby world, and how crazy these people are about sevens and about their country.
Well, one thing's for sure, it's larger than us, and rugby is just a vehicle to help inspire people and motivate people and open doors. And I'm sure, one day, or there'll probably be lots of future Fijian athletes that down the road go, I remember being in that stadium and shaking Osea's hand, or I remember that moment. I know where I was in Fiji or in the world when when he scored, or when Fiji lifted that medal, and that's the special part, is throwing gas on that fire and motivating the next generation and the next generation, and of course for your young son when he grows up and fills your boots one day too.
Yeah, that's it. I remember going, I think last year, going back home and playing touch, and we're playing touch, and I see some people in the park, and there's a group of people that are drunk, and he starts calling me, hey, Kolinisau, come here. I thought, like, this guy is drunk. I shouldn't go. So he said, Kolinisau, I still remember in the Olympic when you slaughtered that drop ball from the corner against Argentina, and then it leveled us. And I knew, like, that helped us. And he said, God bless you, and you walked away. And I was like, dude, like, this guy still remembers that. And, and we talked about leaving legacies and the young generations in Fiji, we've left a legacy and show them that, that you can achieve anything. If it's not in the Olympic, that you can achieve anything you want to. And us doing that in the Olympic, winning an Olympic medal was impossible. Like people say, it couldn't happen. And then it happened. And it happened during our time. And I'm so happy about it because we were able to show people in Fiji, no matter what you do, if you work hard, if you train hard and you set your mind to it, you can achieve it. And, and talking about my son, and I'm happy that, I have a legacy, and my son, I can share with my son. That's like, when I'm gone, I have a medal that'll be there with the family, can show my son that, my dad did this, and inspire him. And I don't know what sport he'll take up. So I was like, whatever he does, like, I will support him 100%, but I'm hoping he will choose rugby and follow in my footsteps. And and I see now, I'm always telling, like, hey, you gonna be better than me, okay? Make sure, and I know you're gonna be better than me, and you're gonna do great things. And I hope that time comes around, and I'm still around to witness that. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to relocate you to Canada in the next few years, so Kolinisau Jr. can play for Canada. Dallen might disagree. But yeah, no, bigger picture. I mean, I talked to you in length last year, just how, your team's vision and your team's success story and the solution orientated approach that Ben took with you, and all the challenges Fiji overcame to reach their success. And the Mexican team that I worked with, we modeled our ambition after you guys, and right to the point where I took the girls' phones, and thank God we won the World Cup qualifier, because I would have had 12 angry Latina Mexican women, because they're all pretty young girls, because we had a bunch of our older senior players get injured, and for an 18, 19, and 20-year-old big city Mexican young woman to give up, a millennial to give up their cell phone is pretty tough to do. But I told them, you give up your phone for the weekend, and your phone will blow up on Monday, and you'll get to enjoy the memories you make without your phone, and forever you'll be your legacy will be there. So they did that, thank goodness. Otherwise they would have killed me. But yeah, you guys were a huge inspiration for not only Fiji but also Mexico, as I've shared in the past. But and then obviously, now you're immortalized on a $7 bill. Where in the world is there a $7 bill but Fiji? What is it like for you to be back in Fiji and to see your smile on that $7 bill?
It's huge, and it's humbling. When every time I see it, it brings back, memories. And we've always talked with the boys, like, we need to write our name on sand and not on stone and not on sand, because we said, there's been so many great Fijian sevens players that have come and gone. As like, we need to write a legacy, like, we write our name on stones. Like, when the next generation come, like, it'll never wash away. They'll see this, like, oh, those guys, like, these are the guys that did this. And that is one way that, people see that $7 bill and know that, these guys are the guys that achieved, something that wasn't possible for a long time. And to me, going back and seeing that, and think the $7 bill, and it just brings back a lot of memory, and it's so humbling that our government will do something for the boys to remember them by. And when they said that, we have something to show you guys, we didn't think they'd say it was a surprise. And when they unveiled it, and it's a huge surprise. And I remember just getting, all swelled up with emotion. And they asked me, Oscar, what does this mean? I was like, it means a lot. And especially not for me, the boys we play with, like, it means a lot for our families. Like, that when we're gone from this earth, they're still a part of us. That will be around them. And to do that with a currency is huge. And, people ask me, Oscar, is it just a member? I said, it's a real currency. You can use it to buy stuff. And, it's good to really have that memory.
I hope they gave you 700 of them or 7,000 of them.
I don't know. People have been taking a lot of them. So I hope that we can keep some, and we used to come and just show my family and maybe if I have grandchildren.
Oh, that's special. And I know that a lot of people I've spoken to that have been to Fiji, they always bring back the bill, and it's your bill, your $7 bill. So when I one day I'm able to travel there with my missus, I'm going to get that one as well. So Oscar, let's talk briefly about Major League Rugby. The professional setup in America has received a lot of exposure and support. What is your experience being like representing the Houston SaberCats?
It's been amazing here in America, and just to get an opportunity to play in America, and to see how things go here. And I know Americans love their sports, and I've always told people, like, this is a really sleeping giant in rugby. And they say, why? I said, I come here and I see these athletes. I said, I see these athletes. I see these people walking like these people, 7 foot, and doing gym and running. They're so fast, and you see that in the NFL, in field bus jumping. And I said, boy, imagine if these guys played rugby from a young age. I'm like, these guys would be untouchable in the world of rugby and be a superpower. And they have the resource, and they have the sauce, to have a really big rugby country, and people just love sports here. And that's what. So one thing I'm scared about America is it wakes up to that, and I know that they'll be a superpower. And Major League Rugby, and coming here and seeing how it has taken off. Like, this year has been, although it's cut short, like last year was competitive, but this season it's really gotten tough, and the team are starting to recruit big, and to see that colleges are getting involved. And I know people think about that they're going to include college players in the draft, and as it's growing, and and I hope I'm around when America really takes this seriously and competes with the world superpowers in rugby. But yeah, being Houston has been quite like home, and summer hits. It's good. It's hot, and we've enjoyed it. And the club, they've looked after us really well. And I've worked with some amazing people, and made friends with a lot of the boys, and I've been able to share my experience. I coach for the academy, and see these young players. There's something I wanted to do is give back, and being able to tell my story and share my experience, and show these young boys growing up in America, like there's another road you can take despite football. Like, you guys love it, you can travel the world, and like, you'll have when you finish, you'll have friends all over the world. Whatever sport, what other sport gives you that? I know they've talked about rugby is different. Like, you make friends with the other team, like you make friends for life. And I know I'm friends with South Africa. Like, we're rivals in there, but we talk now and then. Like, after the game, we'll see, like, hey, how are you? And I catch up, and I message Philip's name, and hey, how are you? How's the family? And Tetamaki from New Zealand, Sevens, and I was like, you have relationship with these people, like the sport of rugby, and I feel like it's so huge. You get to travel, and you get to make friends for life, and I hope that these young college students and high school students in America really take up rugby seriously, and see that rugby is one of those sports that you need to play to enjoy, but it teaches you culture, it teaches you discipline, and most of all, it teaches you teamwork. And one thing I've told, like, you'll make friends for life that you'll never regret. Like speaking with Dallen, and now I played against Dallen. Now he's been a commentator, and now like this relationship, like, oh, I played against you. Oh yes, we played in. We remember those times, like we played and you guys won, and like these kind of things, like you won't get that in the NBA, where you have friends from like all over the world that you played against, and they remember you. You share these amazing stories, and yeah, so I really loved my time in Houston, and I hope it continues, and I just hope to be around when America starts to compete with the Super Rugby Pass.
I love hearing your stories today. And before we let you go, Osea, what other advice would you give to young aspiring rugby players who want to represent their country and, most importantly, follow their dreams, whatever they are?
Yeah, I've always found it that nothing comes easy, and what I've always told them was like, you'll have faith in that. Oh, you have dreams and you have goals, and you set these goals and dreams, and you'll have distractions that come along. But one thing I've always told myself, and I always told the boys, like, when we have those dreams, we have a faith that it'll work. But you gotta have that work hard ethic. So I've always told the boys, you gotta be able to work hard to back up your faith in order to be successful. So whether it's in school, it's in sports, or whatever part of life you go to, one thing I've known along my journey in life is that you have to work hard. And you got to work really hard to get there. And to the young ones that are aspiring to get to their goal, and nothing is impossible if you put the time in it, and just make sure that you have the right people around you that can take you towards your goal. And on our 4-year journey, we've always said that we have a straight line towards our goal, a white line. So if you feel like on your journey to your goal that you're starting to diverge a bit or going to the left or right a bit, make sure you check yourself and you get yourself back into that straight line and you continue going.
Well, I just want to say it's not every day we get to speak to a gold medalist and an all-round legend, somebody with more steps than the Great Wall of China. A real honor to have you on the Rugby Hive podcast.
Thank you, Dallen. Dankie.
Hi, Dankie. There we go. Afrikaans as well.
Osea Kolinisau, ningol may na Rugby Hive.
Beautiful ball over the top. Yes, Seppo!
Thank you for listening, you sleek sensations.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to Rugby Hive Podcast and catch us on all the socials at Rugby Hive.
We appreciate your support. Be safe out there, and we'll see you soon.
They've taken the lunch money from South Africa, and